Hi everyone. Just like most of you, I spent months at home during quarantine. I've tried many different things to keep myself busy, but my one constant was video games. So today, I thought it'd be interesting to see what games I beat during quarantine. Now to be clear, when I say finished, it means I saw the credits. It does not necessarily mean I platinumed the game, although that is the case for a couple of them. My name is Oaken Caesar, and if you like this video, hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and let's see the games I beat during quarantine in 2020. First off, on April 18, I rebeat Castle Crashers on the Xbox One. This is a game I originally beat a few years ago on an old roommate's 360, and a few times again over the years since. This wasn't a game I really cared about 100% completing. I didn't really feel the need to beat this with every character. When quarantine first started, there was so much change in the world. I just needed some comfort food gaming. From the hilarious enemies to the fun gameplay, this game is a joy every time I turn it on. It's not a very long game, and it doesn't get crazy difficult, but it has a wide array of characters and animal companions, and a ridiculous amount of weapons. It allows for a lot of different character combinations to help keep it fresh. Leveling up can be a little repetitive, but there's never really a point where you feel like there's a grind to it. This is definitely a game that in about another year, I will play through it again as a different character, just to enjoy it for its casual, fun nature. After Castle Crashers, I picked up my save file from South Park Stick of Truth. I previously beat this game about 2 to 3 years ago on the PS3. This time I picked up my Xbox One save file, which I left off at the end of the first day. When I rebeat Stick of Truth, it was April 21st. Just like Castle Crashers, I needed a game that could make me laugh and smile while being stuck at home. I do live by myself, so having a game that can make me laugh out loud was a very nice thing to have. This game feels like an episode of South Park. It has great visuals, great voice acting, fun gameplay, and hidden things to find. It actually makes you feel like you're living in the small little mountain town. The customizations of weapons and clothing is hilarious. The characters act exactly how I feel like they would in the show. The story starts basically how kids would play and act, and evolves into a pretty grand experience. On May 6th, I beat Streets of Rage 4 on the Xbox One. It was a great time. I only played through it once, and I played as Blaze the entire way through, even though the achievements state you need to beat it with all the characters. I restarted this about a week ago as another character, and I can see myself replaying this game a few times over again the next while to beat it with everyone. I did play this solo, so it was a little challenging at times. A little frustrating, but never to the point where I thought it was unfair or anything like that. I definitely died a few times, but it was a good time nonetheless. I always loved beat-em-ups and side-scrolling games, and this felt exactly how I wanted it to. It was very smooth. I never really had trouble hitting opponents, like some games where you're just above or below them and it doesn't register. The visuals are very bright and vibrant, and they use those graphics to create some really neat set pieces for a game like this. The enemies and bosses were more varied than I thought they would be. It was definitely a good time. Doom 2016. This game is brilliant. I played this on Game Pass on the Xbox One. I started around May 10, beat it on May 14, and it left Game Pass on May 15. I never got the chance to even try to 100% it, but it was definitely a game I would have tried. I first tried this game about a year ago and I liked what I played, but only played it for about 15 to 20 minutes. I just wanted to see what it was like, and it was added to my backlog of games. When I decided to use quarantine as a means to get through some of my backlog, this game immediately stood out to me. As soon as I turned it on, started from the beginning, I was hooked. This game is so much fun and so smooth to play. The speed, the weapons, the gore, the demons, it all flowed together perfectly. I'd always heard people love this game, and it flat out did not disappoint. The set pieces looked great, and I didn't find all the challenges, but the ones I did find were short, good, and didn't take away from the main gameplay. When the game started so well and so smooth, I was worried that it might have slowed in the middle, but it never did. I never got to the point where I thought it was repetitive. In fact, I loved it so much, within the week, I purchased Doom Eternal. I haven't beaten it yet because I have a ton of other games in my backlog, but Doom Eternal is something I will beat shortly. I spent the first half of my quarantine on my Xbox One, as I had lent my PS4 to a friend. But as soon as I got my PS4 back, I knew I needed to play some on my PS4 backlog, starting with God of War. I beat God of War on May 26th. This game is stunning. From visuals to atmosphere, this game blew me away. It did take a little bit to get used to the controls, but once I figured out my strategy on how to beat multiple enemies at once, I was hooked. The Leviathan Axe easily jumped to a top favorite weapon of all time. Very few weapons is as satisfying to use. I thought Atreus was going to be confusing to control and annoying to have accompany me all game, but I was wrong. He has some great lines, and his upgrades and abilities made him so good that I probably never would have beaten some fights without it. He never overstayed his welcome. I tried to 100% this game, but I haven't done it yet. Finding the Ravens and defeating the Valkyries is just something I'm probably never going to do. Maybe with some practice and trial and error, but I have such a backlog of games that I have too many other games I want to play. The month of June, I didn't play a ton of single-player games, but by July, I was back at it, and on July 18, I finished the DLC, The Frozen Wilds, for Horizon Zero Dawn. I beat the main story and platinumed Horizon in the summer of 2019, but never got around to the DLC. The Frozen Wilds was really good with new characters, quests, and machines. The fact that I was trekking through snow the entire time was a little annoying at times, but the DLC was short enough that it never got to the point where it was too frustrating. I recently restarted my save file as a New Game Plus, and then I'll be 100% everything with the game. If you enjoy the base game, you'll enjoy everything about the DLC. On August 8, I beat SpiderMan on the PS4. It looks beautiful, which is something I never thought I would say about a city landscape within a game. Usually I think of big set pieces in mountains or hell or islands to show off amazing visuals, but somehow they managed to make buildings look amazing. The style of combat isn't a style I usually like to play, but I think it works amazingly well in this game. I think the style fits the character of Spider-Man with the abilities to jump, punch, swing, and web in seemingly multiple directions at once. The characters were amazing, from looks to voice acting, and swinging through the city and just listening to J. Jonah Jameson on the radio was an absolute joy. The swing mechanics to travel the city is overwhelmingly natural to use. It was an absolute blast to do. I think I only used the fast travel to get the trophy for it and never again. I did manage to get the platinum trophy, but I have not purchased the DLC yet. I tend to do the DLC about 6 months to a year after I beat a story. It gives me a reason to return to games I enjoy. I have the Nathan Drake collection, but I never played any Uncharted game, so I figured quarantine was the perfect time to give it a shot. Naturally, I started with the first one, Uncharted Drake's Fortune, and I finished it on August 11th. I don't know what the visuals look like on the PS3, but the game looks pretty nice on the PS4. The game had an interesting story with lots of exploration, even though the levels were fairly linear. There was always lots of collectibles to make you search in every corner. I did appreciate features like being able to switch shoulders while aiming and carrying only one primary and one sidearm weapon. It made the game a bit more challenging. I had to strategize which weapons I should be picking up or leaving behind. The game did have a bit of camera troubles and small issues like crouching around the wrong corner of a wall or pillar, but nothing was so major I couldn't look past it. That being said, I was fairly impressed by the game. Uncharted 2 Among Thieves had so much hype behind it, and I finished it on August 15th. Playing this game for the first time in 2020, I tried looking at it through my own eyes, but I was always looking for things I had heard about over the years. The set pieces and locations were more impressive than the first, however the gameplay didn't change much. A few weapon variants, but nothing too game-changing. It did introduce some better stealth mechanics and kills, but honestly, with the exception of the second chapter, I didn't use it very much. I felt the game was still designed more for gunfights as opposed to stealth. I did start noticing some enemies becoming bullet sponges, which was pretty infuriating. However, it did force me to change strategies and weapons, which I did appreciate. I actually enjoyed the story a bit more than the exploration and stopped searching for the treasures in the levels. If I had played this when it first came out, I'm sure I would have loved it. However, after beating games like God of War and Breath of the Wild and other games of this generation, I can't seem to place it overly high on my list of amazing games. I did notice a lot of issues that remained with controls for the camera and other small things that bothered me in the first game that I was hoping would have been solved for this game. On August 25th, I finished the trilogy. Uncharted 3 Drake's Deception kept what was working from the first two games and made the set pieces even grander. However, I was disappointed to still notice the same camera and control issues from earlier games. They never took away from the fun, but I was hoping these issues would be resolved by this game. I appreciated the thoughts behind some of the levels and set pieces, like the sinking ship, but the way the camera worked and everything, it actually started giving me motion sickness, and I just wanted the level to end. The bullet sponge enemies towards the middle and end of the game felt like they took more ammo than the game gives you, which was extremely frustrating. The core gameplay didn't change much over the course of the 3 games, which I understand. It worked quite well. However, I was hoping for a bit more of an evolution in gameplay as opposed to just an evolution in level design. When I finished the 3rd game, I did notice the similarities and reused tropes between the games, but if I had played them with any length of time in between them, I don't think it would have bothered me as much. The final game I beat during quarantine was Ratchet Clank. I played most of the Ratchet games in some capacity, and I played and beat all of the Future series on the PS3 a few years ago, and I loved them all. So I felt like playing something that would put a smile on my face. The charm in this game is great, the characters are all amazing, but the weapons are the reason to play this game. The Sheepinator, or Goatinator in its second form, the Pixelator, the Groovatron, and of course, Mr. Zircon. The story is fine, visuals are great, but the weapons and characters are so full of charm and personality that it's impossible to not have fun while playing this game. If you're having a bad day, watch enemies dance to the Groovatron and it'll put a smile on your face instantly. I plan on going through the levels again to find all the golden bolts and level up my weapons, but I accidentally erased my file as I was making my New Game Plus, so I will 100% this game as I replay it on the new settings. I started and ended quarantine with two games that were an absolute joy to play. And in between, I played games that were hilarious, visually striking, and frustratingly difficult. But did you play anything during quarantine? Did you get any platinum trophies? If so, let me know down in the comments below. And if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and thanks for watching.